Welcome. You are listening to The Travel Winds, hosted by Pete Kotzbach. This is a weekly interview show about people who travel for work and all the ups and downs that go along with it. Here we go.
Hey, welcome to the Travel Winds podcast. Today, my guest is Jasmin St. How are you today, Jasmin?
Good. How are you?
Excellent. Having a great week so far. It's a pleasure to talk to you. An actress, a wrestler, entrepreneur, author. What am I missing?
I also have a podcast.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, podcast is.
It's such a weird term, podcaster. It's like, okay.
I started my podcast 4.5 years ago. And when I used to tell people, they're like, "Oh, what?" And now I'm getting that a lot less. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, because like everyone has one. It's so weird. Like I knew of your podcast before, clearly, because I follow you on Instagram and anything with travel, and usually I tend to follow travel like channel or Instagram or Twitter. If it's someone that's over the age of like 25 that I believe has actually traveled and knows about the different mileage platforms, who's partnered. Like you asked me anything about that, yeah. I could tell you. Like I did that in my sleep.
Well, that's it. I'm definitely over 25. Both my kids are over 25. So
yeah, what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly. I'm with you. So your podcast is Crazy Train with Jasmin St.
Yeah.
Great title.
Crazy with a K. Thank you.
Yeah. It's a great, because I interviewed Rudy Sarzo and we talked about the time when he traveled with Randy Rhoads and Ozzy and all that. It's kind of crazy story.
Yeah, he's really cool though.
Yeah, he's super nice.
I knew Randy because I used to live in Marina del Rey, and Randy and I used to hang out at Baja Cantina back in the day on a Sunday when Yankee Doodle was across the street.
I remember Yankee Doodle.
Yeah, I remember that. And it's a great place for a lot of amateur drinkers to go. But yeah, I would go there. It'd be like a huge line outside of the Baja Cantina on a Sunday night. So we used to drink there, and then he was living with the Alice in Chains guys on a boat in the marina somewhere. Then we talk heavy metal, but I didn't know that they were Alice in Chains. Like I really couldn't care less, but yeah.
Yeah, they're well, God, back in that time. That's going back a ways.
Yeah.
So have you ever thought about writing a book just about your heavy metal experiences?
I mean, that would have to come out in the form of an autobiography, I think.
Sure.
Just because of the amount of people I've encountered. Like it's insane because in the 90s, or like late 80s, like in the 90s, that's when I was here, you encounter the Alice in Chains guys, and they were nice and all, except for one. And then years later, one of them, his, what hurts because I didn't recognize him. Okay, I'm sorry. I was there with friends, and you guys just kind of look the same, unless you're Mike Inez, because Mike looks different. Plus, you played with Heart for a while.
So, I mean, you are an absolute encyclopedia of music knowledge. I don't know if people would.
Oh yeah, everyone. Yeah, no one really knows that, but yeah.
That's pretty cool, though. Do you when you travel, do you ever try to see other bands or see, because for me, I do. When I go to Dallas, I'm like, let me see who's playing while I'm there. That's how I saw Mickie James. My first pro wrestling match was Mickie James because she happened to be in town when I was in Dallas.
She's great.
But do you do that well when you travel? Do you kind of look up and say, hey, what's going on in New York, or what's going on here if I'm going to be there for a few days?
All the time, because if it's one of my friends' bands, especially because I don't see everyone all the time. And I remember once when I was in Australia at a signing, I found out Motorhead was playing. So obviously I was friends with them, and I just like went to the backstage. It's so funny. The security had no idea who they were. I'm like, just get me the tour manager. It can't be that difficult. But I always look up who's playing in town and try to make proper arrangements prior to going to a show. I know that sounds really nerdy, but when you travel, there's only so much time you have in your hands to do things. Plus, I like to do a few different things when I travel. I kind of just wing it, but at the same time, if it's a town I've never been to, I'll see what there is. Like, I'm not going to go on TikTok. I'm not going to go on Instagram to really see what else there is, because then everyone else is going because it's posted.
I always go. I try and do. There's a couple different websites I'll check out. Event status and all that. But I'm the same way. I don't want to go to Madison Square Garden. I want to go see the speakeasy, that because have you ever, there's a speakeasy in MDR too, in Killer Shrimp.
There's a speakeasy in Killer Shrimp.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Behind the book,
interesting.
behind the bookcase, right by the hostess stand. If you open up the bookcase, there's a little bar inside there.
How do you go in there? Do you just
You just
open it, or
open it up. Yeah.
what time does it open?
I think it's later because I saw my friend's band there. There's a swing band, and I'm like, where? And he's like, yeah, you just got dinner, and then there's a library, a book, like a bookcase. You just open it up and walk in.
I like those. I like
Yeah.
speakeasy. I like the authentic ones in a way where they have the older tablecloths and maybe the people dressed for that era. There's a haunted speakeasy in Washington, in Seattle.
Oh, wow.
It's called the Catwalk,
Okay.
but it used to be a speakeasy before they reopened it. But I have to tell you, like when I went downstairs, it felt so, I don't really pick up on spirits and all of that, but it just really felt like there was something horrible that went on there at some point, and I was freaked out and I went running out to the street.
You're
So
like,
hopefully
nope.
it's changed if you go.
Oh, like my wife would probably be, she sees orbs and that kind of stuff, and I don't. So like I walk through thinking, I'm like, did you? I'm like, no, I don't. I'm good. So she would probably freak out. I'd be okay.
Yeah, I'd freak out. But it's interesting. And then they started to have them in New York. And I like them because especially when you have different concoctions that the bartender comes up with.
Yep.
Like I like Singapore slings, but nobody knows how to make a Singapore sling in 2023. They have to go into a book.
Yeah, yeah. I went to a martini bar in outside of Portland, and they literally had a book of like 100 different martinis. And that's all they had there was martinis, but they had one that was it was a thin mint from the Girl Scout cookie, a thin mint martini, and it tasted like a thin mint. There was, a lot of people had fun that night.
One thing I like a lot is at the Derby Room in Pomona, where XPW wrestles when they're in California. So the bartender didn't have any cream left for Kahlua and cream. Like, I guess she put something else in it. I told her, how about this? Let's do Kahlua and cream, but with ice cream.
Nice.
And she went out and got ice cream and like blended it in, but she was pretty heavy with the Kahlua. Now, back in the day in Culver City and Washington Boulevard, there's a place, it's sort of a dive. Oh, I keep forgetting the name. It's across the street from the taco place. It'll come to me, but it was a dive and they only took cash.
Sure.
Amazing place. It was an off-duty cop bar during the daytime. And then in
Exactly.
Seattle, I would like one place called the 5 Point, but I see that now they're on Instagram. That is a place, if you order Jack and Coke, it literally is like this much Jack Daniels, this much Coca-Cola. Yeah, it was insane.
A splash of
The Cozy.
soda.
That's it. The Cozy. The Cozy. Yeah.
In Culver City or right off?
Yeah, Culver
Okay.
City, Sepulveda Boulevard.
Got it. Well, I'll be there. So out of the, I mean, I don't think I'm breaking it to anybody. You've been traveling for about 30 years now, give or take, right?
More than that, way more, since I
Sure.
was a kid, because I mean, I remember taking Eastern Airlines and Pan Am. I even did the Pan Am experience in LA. But yeah, I mean, I've been doing it for quite some time and I love it. Like, I like living different places. I like going to different places. And I think, or I don't know, if you're going to ask me where my favorite place is, it's unfair because everywhere has something different that I like and I don't like. So, but I love everywhere I've been to, especially like a couple of years I spent going up the central coast of California. I have a motorcycle, so I've done bike trips before to like Death Valley, Xanterra resorts, things like that. So
I was going to ask, but my question is this for you. What's the most influential place you've been to? What's influenced you the most out of all the places you've been to?
Wow.
So it doesn't have to be your favorite.
I would say it's between Cambria and like London or Norway, probably Norway, northern Norway, Tromsø. Actually, no, I'll take it back. Iceland.
Wow. That's a good one. You're the first one that said that.
Well, you know why? Because I don't think and no, don't take this the wrong way. Too many Americans go to these places, right? they're too busy like doing this,
Yeah.
you know, to really enjoy and take things in. And it's become this culture of like, I love traveling, like even St. Croix, my home, like where I was born,
Yeah.
that's another place. But I just like going back in time to things that are not destroyed and commercialized and hipsterized. And when you go to a place like Iceland,
It's not.
And I've seen it before with American tourists that are specifically in the younger age group, they're so busy doing this and this, but people in Europe, I mean, it's like, okay, come on, like that's enough. Let's like put the phones down. Everyone's at dinner,
Yeah.
or having lunch. When I lived there, like people would text, but we didn't do it like, like this all the time, where you're at dinner and people are doing that. Then just stay home. Don't come out with your friends. Stay home and text each other. Save your money.
But my youngest daughter stopped in Iceland and said it was beautiful. And then she went on to go to some other places. But you're right. I find kind of interesting because I love Cambria too. I have some great shots from Cambria because I travel, so I travel. California and Hawaii are my territories. And so that's what I do. I drive up and down the coast, especially on the way back. I'll come down through Monterey and then just come down the one.
Monterey. Wait, what? There were a lot of Alfred Hitchcock movies filmed in Monterey as well.
Birds.
That's a beautiful place, Pacific Beach.
The birds.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like the Iceland. That's a first for me. Kind of digging that.
It's different. Like you could just walk around and learn things and see things. Like I eventually would like to act again in Europe, and to also perhaps do something with beauty and health over there. In like 5 years from now. So I'm just working towards that goal.
Okay.
Is that 5 years sounds so generic? Let's say like 4 years. So it's less generic.
4.25.
Yes, 4.25. Yes, that's better.
There you go. More specific.
Yeah.
I cannot believe you're still wrestling.
Right? How the hell did that happen? Oh, excuse my English. Yeah, how the heck did that happen?
Okay.
That's so weird. So I showed up at the show last April, and I don't know what was going to happen, but once you get into a ring, it's like a drug.
I wouldn't know, obviously, but I mean, that's
what I'm told.
I just saw it was a week ago or whatever, you getting thrown out of a cage or out of the ring.
Yeah, that was like just a week ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a bar. Well, yeah, that was a no ropes, no mat wrestling match.
Yeah.
Thank God I exercise enough and watch myself, because he would not have been able to throw me. Probably he would have been, but it would have been a little bit more difficult. But yeah, I mean, you have to kind of just go with these things, and it makes sense in a storyline. If it was just some gratuitous, circus crap, I wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
But it's a certain energy once you're in there. And I don't do drugs. It's not my thing. I haven't been into that whole scene.
Yeah.
But I'm told that I guess it's like a drug because you get addicted to it. It's a special type of high, and it's fun.
Man, I'm like, she's actually getting thrown out of the ring. Like, because I don't know all the wrestling character names, but I know there's a heel and a hero and all that. But like, I thought you were just going to be like the manager, and like be there and just kind of cheer on.
Managers get thrown out of the ring. Managers get
not like that.
Yeah, they do.
Oh,
when I was in ECW wrestling, I mean, there I was taking pile drivers off the top rope. So that was way dangerous. It depends. Managers, I think today in WWE standards, if they even have them, or these watered down companies, they don't go to that level.
Yeah.
That's why you have these sick people out there. That's what they are. They're sickos. That like this type of thing. Sure. And it's no joke. Like you could get hurt. Like had he have not picked me up the way he did and throw me, I would have had my leg caught in that barbed wire.
Yeah. Because that was real barbed wire. I checked. I was looking.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was weird when we started the whole faction, because people actually like it because it's something different.
Totally different
than what you're seeing in the Mega Maga faction. And it's fun doing the promos. I get a lot of my things from this company and like t-shirts, and I cut them into dresses.
Yeah.
I didn't know we had to go out for part of the show at first. And I was just wearing that dress around. Like it was too short to go into a ring with, but they're like, yeah, you just go out for this bit. I'm like, I can't go out like this. Like, well, no, just go. It's just for a second. Okay, fine. So I did.
Well, I was interested because when I saw Mickey perform, she did her thing. She came out because she was announcing her last rodeo, and then she competed, did her thing, and then when she called me to the backstage area, I went back there and she was in the outfit she had on before she went out. She's like, "Oh, I got to shoot some promos before, you know." So it was interesting to see, like the kind of behind the scenes stuff. It was pretty cool.
It always is, especially with these. It's like it's interesting.
How did you get involved with XPW?
Back in the 90s, I was the owner of XPW. Rob got me into ECW wrestling.
Sure.
And then they were supposed to have some kind of working collaboration, which failed, didn't happen, fell through.
Yeah.
So he started XPW. I didn't know what was going on. I was just on air talent. So then he put me in, I was in XPW. Then I just, I moved on to other things. I just went back to ECW. And then I touched base with Rob like a year and a half ago. And he said he has big things coming up, stay in touch. And that's what I did. But when I showed up in April to the show, to the Rebirth show, it was California. That's what we had.
Okay.
We didn't know what was going to happen. Like we just showed up to support, and the fans, there were a lot of fans there that day. But the thing is that show, because there were like 2 tournaments, it went on to I heard 3, 4 in the morning.
Oh, wow.
So a lot of people were not thrilled, but now he has such a perfect chemistry down. I see more and more. I mean, he's getting a lot of people going to the shows because it's a different live show. There's something for everyone. A lot of wrestling lacks strong storylines. So whatever his formula is now, it's working, because when you go on Fight TV, which is where we have our shows, it's always trending in the top 10. And this is against these top MMA companies and things like that.
That's pretty crazy. How are the fans for XPW?
Sickos.
Perfect.
For the most part, they're nice. They're loyal, hardcore fans. So I have those fishnets that I wore in the ring up for sale on eBay. Someone's going to buy it because it has someone else's biohazard on it. That's a good word. But there are sick people out there that have bought things. And if I don't sell it on eBay, I'll just put it out at the next show. And I mean, they're good, but some of them don't miss a beat. I have trading cards that I'm selling, and I got another trading card. I'm like, yeah, I got to make it different. The guy making them said, hey, these people don't miss a beat. Make sure it's different, because they don't, and they really don't.
Yeah.
But they're great worldwide, and I always like the fans. I think XPW has a special type of fan as well, who are into all the death matches and the craziness. Then you have the ones that are just, there was a kid that came to the show in New Jersey. It was his 11th or 12th birthday, really well behaved. And it was his first show his dad was taking him to.
Yeah.
It was cute.
The wrestling fans, I found out by going to them in person. That was my first time ever. I mean, I grew up watching Hulk and Sergeant Slaughter, all the the Iron Sheik, and always just watching it on TV. And then going to it, and the fans are legit fans. I didn't get in the way. I'm like, nope.
You don't want to. We've had a couple of incidents when someone threw a chair from the audience towards someone else, and he was thrown out. There was a guy who had a bottle. He said we think it's apple juice, but the fact that he told me it was urine, I took the tip of my Singapore cane and shoved him with it. Nothing happened to him though. He was standing, he just put down whatever bottle. He tells people it's piss, I guess, for attention, but it's just apple juice. But regardless, I don't take those chances.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
No.
Let's not find out the hard way.
Right, exactly. And one thing I think with traveling and wrestling is just staying healthy. That's the other thing.
That's what I was going to talk about.
Yeah, it's super important. So when I lived in Scandinavia and just being there, the water from the sink tastes so different than water from the sink where we are, right?
Absolutely.
And it's clean. But I always find it I always have my hair supplements and melatonin, liquid melatonin. My NAD injections I take, but if I have to travel, I'll take the pills with me. Like, it's always important to have those. Like, that is the most important thing, and just looking for healthy alternatives. But when you get in at like midnight or 1 a.m, it's hard to find healthy alternatives. So you might get stuck with Papa John's, or like a crappy sandwich that they have at the front desk that might be sketchy with a Diet Coke. I don't know.
At best.
At best, yeah. You could just burn it off. When you get home, you could have a couple of cheat days.
Well, how much I mean, because you're literally traveling around the country, and then I don't understand. You literally were getting thrown out of a ring. So, I mean, you have to perform at a really high level, and you have to be completely focused, and waking up jet lagged or anything else like that, it can really affect you. Like, if it affects me, I'm a little slower at my sales meeting, but for you get thrown in a barbed wire. It's like, no, it's not good.
I got in a couple days before, I have family in New York. So I was in New York for a few days, and then I make it a point not to fly in that morning of. I get in like at least the day before to kind of just chill out and go do things. You want to walk around, you want to see things, even if it's just New Jersey. There'll be something there. There's an art gallery of Newark that I'd like to go to. Maybe I'll see something new. Or there's that Nickelodeon thing, and then also there's Chili's and Applebee's and Outback. I love. I'm living my best life when I go there. Or Cracker Barrel.
I was so mad. I work at the rodeo every year in Las Vegas, and we stay at the MGM, and they had a Chili's right on the strip, and they shut it down because they're tearing it down to build a new. So I walked over there this year, and I'm like, oh, my Chili's is gone. Now I got to find a new one. The only reason I don't like Applebee's is I like the food and all that, but I go to the bars in the afternoon, and I'll just sit at the bar because I'm by myself on a work day. And like, there's people like getting sloshed. And I'm like, for one, you're going back to work, and I got to drive next to you. It's 12:30 in the afternoon. Like, so
are they even working?
Yeah, they're out of work. They're talking to their work people, and oh yeah, when we get back, we'll have to. I'm like, get back. You're on your third margarita. You need to simmer down. And you're driving on the road with me. So that's where I get a little squirrely.
That's kind of sickening right there. I like their Cheeto covered chicken wings. One thing I'm a sucker for is Cheetos with sour cream.
So that's the go-to?
That's the go-to for a snack. I will do that. You're not going to find Whole Foods. Oh, one thing I found out is that cuties, tangerines, are chemically processed. They taste so sweet because they put something in there. Same with the cotton candy grapes. So I don't think I'll be purchasing those anytime soon.
You just ruined cotton candy grapes for me.
I like cotton candy grapes. I don't like them anymore now.
I know, that's what I'm saying. You just ruined it for me.
I'm sorry, it was my Uber driver that ruined it. She ruined Cuties for me. I mean, I got ruined by Cuties Netflix when I saw it, just the ads, disturbing. But this has totally ruined everything for me in a whole. It
makes sense though. They are modifying the sweetness of something and cross hybriding it and all that.
It's dangerous for kids, and that's one thing with traveling. It's like, one thing I could say is when I was traveling as a child till now, I always like trying things in different countries and different places.
Sure.
So like in Oregon, my favorite place is the Keg.
I haven't been there.
It's their version of Chili's, but it's for steaks. Yeah. So
do you always try to find the local foods and hangouts? Because I do that too. When I go, I always ask the concierge, hey, what's a good place around here?
Yeah, I do that. Or I just kind of go out, like I look at local reviews. I used to write a lot of reviews on Yahoo when they had that whole contributor network. So in Sweden and Norway, I was putting on all these places to go. But it's kind of a toss up because the concierge could send you to a lot of people that work at these hotels aren't from the area. Huh?
They get paid.
Yeah, exactly. And they're not from the areas necessarily. Yeah. So I just kind of venture out and look and just read about things. Plus, when you're walking outside, you see things. Like you might run into something really cool.
Totally agree. What's the best city for you that you've seen for walking around?
Besides New York City? Let's see. God, I'm going to say New York City. I would say London.
Okay.
overseas London, domestically New York City, or Mystic Seaport, Connecticut.
Where?
Mystic Seaport, Connecticut.
Okay. I'm gonna look that one up.
Yeah, it's a little New England fisher town.
Sure.
I used to like San Francisco, but it's gotten so different now. So that's not one. That's another place I would have said. But let's see where else. I was walking around in Monterey also one day in that downtown area where they have
The aquarium and all that.
yeah, and then they have I mean, there's so many artists I feel there that are there grifting for these, like they think everyone there has money, which they probably do, but just some of the prices, because I like looking at the art.
Yeah.
And this
Unbelievable.
guy's trying to say it's 5,000. I'm like, you are not Camille Pissarro. You are definitely not Renoir. Let me just assure you of that.
Yeah.
So why again? I'm sorry. Were you stoned or high? Like, what is this? Yeah. Needless to say, I didn't buy anything.
I always look at art like that because I do the same thing. I've traveled around, especially like at the rodeos and some of the Western events. There are a lot of turquoise and a lot of silver work, and I'm like, and then I see the price. I'm like, $8,000 for a necklace. And I'm like,
no, I don't even go that far on my vintage jewelry store, because all the vintage jewelry I have, it's original from like the 1920s to present. But the whole beauty of it is that everyone can own a piece of history. And I think that's really super important. One thing I'd like to do with my vintage jewelry business is travel to some of the international jewelry shows as well with it. And, everything's just different on there. And when people start hiking up the prices on things, especially for tourists and so forth, it really, it sort of ruins it. And one thing I've noticed, this is on a different topic, with restaurants locally. So I live in a touristy area, but with these restaurants, who caters to the locals and who does not by the ones that offer the happy hours. So like Water Grill doesn't offer a happy hour, but yet locals want to go in there and spend $15 for a glass of Whispering Angel. Blue Plate Oysterette is a happy hour. Casa Martin, which is the best Mexican food on the West Side. It's all authentic Mexican food with family recipes. Perfect. And they have the best sangria. And they have a nice little happy hour, like 2 tacos for $10, and they have a great staff. They're sometimes a little slow because of the volume of business, but it's amazing.
Well, that's all the little spots like that are slow because they're so busy. I mean, that's like you said, that's kind of the cool part about it, because it's fresh.
I used to like,
because it's fresh, because they're turning food, so they have to get fresh food in. That's why I don't like going to slow places, because you don't know how long the food's been there for.
Well, one thing I did notice during the pandemic, like I supported as much as I could, but they started to do the outdoor bar area, like start serving shots. And I was just standing there waiting for my salad. This guy, hey, you want to have a shot with me? It's like, oh God. It's like, do I support their business, right? And say yes and have a shot with this creepy guy, or do I just say no?
Always say no to the creepy guy. That's what I tell my daughters. Always say no to the creepy guy.
Well, you don't let them touch your drink. Yeah. But they do have the best Mexican food on the West Side, I think. And to me, it's better than Campos. And this is coming from someone who eats local places to support. And I noticed that Benihana had a happy hour, but when you order their sushi, it's like 50% rice. And like the rest, whatever else, because the chef's in the back on his phone sexting or doing whatever they do on their phones these days. I have no idea. I'm in the wrong generation.
Yeah. Oh, I know. One question I like asking people.
Yes.
That have traveled for decades. Imagine traveling today without your phone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure.
I don't know that young people understand. Like, I always tell my daughters, I'm like, let me take your phone away, and then you set up a travel trip. And they're like, what do you mean? Like, no computer, no phone. How would you do it?
I would still call to book the reservation.
Yeah.
With American Airlines, I get the fees waived, or in United. Then as far as the hotel, I would kind of look through books, believe it or not.
Yeah, I know. That's what we used to do.
Yeah, exactly. And then I would call around. of course, we're in the age of Airbnb, but I don't particularly like those
I
because
don't either.
Airbnbs, you get some sketchy hosts out there.
I had a guy that woke me up. He's
Oh
like,
yeah, what happened?
I'm like, he literally woke me up. Airbnb. I was in Paso Robles, halfway up the coast.
Oh,
And
okay.
it was it was a llama farm. So it was cool. But he literally came in the morning and woke me up. And I'm like, why are you waking me? He goes, oh, I thought you had an appointment this morning. I'm like, no, it got canceled. And so I got to sleep in for an extra hour. I'm like, but
So intrusive.
yeah, I was like, dude, you woke me up. Like, I don't need that.
Yeah, like it's none of your business.
Yeah,
Maybe I want to miss my appointment, but Airbnbs are beautiful. It's a great thing to have, and it's a great thing, if you have it done the right way. But the only thing I don't like about it in Southern California is the sense of community gets taken away. We have enough of a crime surge here that when you have young hipsters from abroad thinking LA is the coolest place and they start misbehaving, like one of the buildings that's owned by mine, it's in Wilshire Boulevard, Barrington Plaza a few years ago
I know
had a
what.
nasty fire. There's a sketchy Airbnb going on. The person who was renting the apartment had an Airbnb or something. He died. Then they just kept doing Airbnb, and just paying the rent that way until a
Sure.
fire happened. Someone decided to smoke some weed and do a few other things, and poof, that's what happened.
That's definitely the sketchy part of it.
Yes. um but it's just something I like bed and breakfast in certain parts.
Yeah.
In Cambria, I like Squib. It looks nice. I haven't stayed there, but however, I've stayed at Pacifica hotels and I've noticed a complete decline
Yeah.
of customer hospitality, the ones on Moonstone Beach.
Yeah. Been there.
And the stench in one of the rooms because of the carpet, and they deny it. So with me, I always deal with the front desk when I don't get to what I want with it. It doesn't mean I want all my money back. It means you acknowledge this and
Yeah.
do something. Then what I do next is then I go over the GM's head to the district, or like that district or regional manager. If that doesn't go, then I'll go to the COO. So I know exactly how to do these things. But yeah.
But you've traveled. So, I mean,
Yeah. Exactly. I'm not an idiot. Then you have kids at the check-in, like to do the check-ins there, but they're always like on their phone doing stuff. What'd you say? And it's just a matter of just listening up and like
focus.
hearing what someone's saying. Then you don't have to have this whole miscommunication. Oh, just do it on the app. There are a lot of elderly people who travel
That's what I'm saying.
that,
Yeah.
yes, they don't have apps. Not everyone wants to do this. I just yelled at the girl on Fiverr this morning, going back and forth. I said, look, this is my number. I'm spelling it out for you. If you cannot get on the phone with me, don't bother doing this.
Yeah.
So like within minutes, hi, good idea. Smart choice.
I've had good experiences and a few not great, but I haven't had any horrific ones. But there've been like a couple where you go, okay, so you did do what you said you're going to do, but it kind of sucks. So
Oh yeah, I'm very vocal about that.
yeah,
And this is why I hate like texting and doing everything by email. Plus you're like this for the first hour of your morning. It's like, how could I because I like to kickstart my morning with my espresso or my skinny coffee, feed the cat, play with the cat, look at emails, and then go off to the gym or do whatever I have to do early in the day.
yeah,
Then continue on with whatever errands. And like my whole goal is to have the Shopify store and my Jasmin Shopify store perfectly functionable and working by the end of February. The Jasmin store, like I sold stuff off of there, but if you went there, it looks really you could tell I tried to do it.
yeah. I did the same thing with my daughter literally helped me start my show because I didn't know anything. I don't know how to record and all that. So I called my daughter up and she's like, yeah, here's the app, here's this program, here's this, do this, because she's got the techie thing. And then
Yeah.
when I wanted to start my own website, because I had friends say, hey, you got to have a website, because I started getting like 60, 70 episodes and people were like, well, how do they find your episodes? I'm like, shoot. She helped me with that. And then I did it the best I could. I feel you when you were telling me about the Shopify. I'm like, oh, that's how I felt. Because I did the website and I did the best I could, but every time I went out to it looked janky. It's just like, eh.
It does.
I finally hired somebody to do it for me. And I'm like, oh.
You have to, yeah. And then the one person doing my Jasmin store, he's local. We worked on a metal radio show together, so he was doing all the graphics. So he'll just do it. And
And my guy's local too. And
oh, really?
met
That's good to know.
I met him on Fiverr. Was it Fiverr or one of the other ones? And then but yeah, he's an El Segundo. I'm like, okay. Like
You'll have to
local.
message me his information after just in case, because sometimes they lie and say they're in the USA and they're not. And
Yeah.
I figured out just by your name and by your grammar and how
the
you're talking to
grammar.
me.
It's all about the
That's
grammar.
always what it is. Excuse me, I don't understand. Okay. You know, that's one thing about traveling is I speak 5 languages. French is basically like my first language. And then it's super important when people travel to at least know some phrases. And I'm not saying just go on those little translation apps.
Yeah.
It's to actually learn words out of courtesy, especially in some cultures. Americans with American accents should not speak French because when they do it, they sound deaf. I'm sorry, mais c'est très vrai. C'est très vrai. Parce que quand ils parlent français, ils parlent, oh, je suis américaine. It's like, no, just don't, tais-toi.
Just don't. What other language do you speak? Spanish?
Yeah, and Portuguese, German, and Norwegian.
Why'd you learn Portuguese?
Huh?
What? How, is that your family learning Portuguese or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then also in school, and then I lived in Brazil, but I'm learning Italian as well on my own. Like Portuguese is a combination of Italian and French. People think it's like Spanish. No, we don't. Like the verb to need in Spanish is necesitar. In Portuguese, it's precisar. So it's 2 different things.
Yeah.
I took Latin for a year in school, or 2 years when I was younger too. That helped.
I was gonna say I was gonna learn some Brazilian, some Portuguese because I did jujitsu, and my instructor's like, don't waste your time. I'm like, okay, yeah. The only ones I know is calma. When you start getting spazzed out and working out and training,
Calma.
calma, calma.
Calma, calma,
Yeah.
sim.
And
See, it's like Italian, you see?
he was fascia preta. He was a black belt, so
Oh,
yeah, it's pretty cool. That's
yeah,
why I
that's
was
a good
asking you
one.
about why you learn Portuguese.
I was working on a heavy metal show and a magazine as well. Plus, I think it's disrespectful to step foot into foreign soil and not know a few words.
Yeah.
That's like a highly disrespectful thing, even if you're attempting. But like I said, just don't go to Paris doing that.
We were going to go, my wife and I were going to go to Japan in April of 2020. And then, of course, the world shut down in March of 2020. And like literally we were going to be both my daughters and my one daughter's husband and my other daughter's boyfriend in Tokyo, like separately. I mean, that's hard to do. You get 6 adults, working adults. And anyways, it didn't happen. But we were literally trying to learn Japanese going up to it. And there are apps now you can like listen on YouTube and learn. And so we were trying to do that. And then we were also learning because I totally agree with what you said. It's like if you're going to go to a country, try and find out the ins and outs of that country, respect level, what not to do, what to do, what's considered very rude, what's considered okay because they know you're a tourist, but try not to do it. I mean, and different countries have different ways.
Yeah, and if you're going to live somewhere, like acclimate. Even if you're visiting, just acclimate while you're there. I remember where was I at the time? I was in Finland, and then these American tourist guys got on the bus, and you could tell they're American tourists by the way they were speaking and carrying on, and just of course because they spoke bad English, and they were drunk, and then I could hear what they were saying.
Yeah.
So I finally said, and you just need to shut your mouth. You sound like a stupid American, and it's really embarrassing to come here and act like this. Oh no, man, no disrespect. Okay, just why don't you just like not do this here?
Exactly.
So it was just horrible. They were saying all kinds of things about the girl, another girl that was on there, myself, a guy, who actually he was the JKD instructor.
Exactly.
And the bus driver. But it's nice, like even keeping the keepsakes from the little loyalty cards for the coffee shops in Europe, so you have it when you go back. Things like that.
What are the places you haven't been to that you really want to go to?
Slovenia,
Gotcha.
Japan, Fiji, Maldives, Italy, Greece, Moldova.
So you can make this happen in the next 5 years?
Czech Republic. Yeah, I mean, Moldova is a great I mean, that's a place I could like retire probably, but I like certain parts of France, like the outskirts or southern France.
Yeah.
I'm very much a type of person when I travel somewhere, I'd like to see that culture's food. And it sounds horrible, but I don't like going into like late at night in Sweden when you're done going to all the metal bars. They have a place with lingonberry jam with the potatoes and the meatballs. They don't have just kebab shops open and just all this other stuff. When I go to a British pub, I want British food. I don't want it mixed in with this other culture. I want pure British food because it's nice to have that. So you could say you've had it. So I'm sort of a snob in that respect.
No, that's not snob. I do the same thing, so I'm not going to say it's a snobby.
Yeah, I mean, people say it's very culturally insensitive. It's not culturally insensitive. I would never go to the Middle East and expect to see hamburger and fries with a milkshake and a root beer float. I wouldn't see that there. And I wouldn't want it anyway. I want their food. I want to sit down like they do and eat it just the same way.
Exactly. Well, hey, I appreciate I'm going to get you out of here. What's the best way for my fans to follow up with what you have coming up? And I know you got the Derby, the XPW Derby coming up in California, I think. That's what I just saw. I don't know if you can get it.
We run every other month in California and New Jersey. We're getting other towns now. XPW Wrestling, February 18th, Pleasures of the Flesh is that pay-per-view. You could see me on Fight TV on XPW Wrestling. Instagram.com, The Real Jasmin St. Clair. So JASMINSTCLAIRE.
Perfect.
Twitter, Jasmin St. Clair. Facebook. And if you go on Shopify, I've got a store. And on eBay, I'm the only person that has my own stuff. There's someone else selling some stuff up there, but you don't want to buy anything from him because he's horrible and ugly.
Allegedly.
No,
no, for real.
Can you believe he had like some of my stolen stuff and he's trying to sell me back my own stuff? The guy was on the show Storage Wars. It was one of those guys. I couldn't believe it. That's like so cheesy.
Hey, would you like to buy back your? That's crazy.
Yeah. And then, if you do like vintage jewelry, it's the Vintage Affair on Shopify. I just have clip-on earrings up there now, but I'll have cufflinks and necklaces, stuff for your girlfriend, your mom, your grandma, your sisters, your kids, whatever.
Perfect. So a night at Cicada would be at the Cicada Club would be nice with some vintage jewelry.
Yes, exactly. It's perfect.
I got
and
you.
Then the other show I have a show on Rumble, Ice Cold Conservative. So I have that, and so that's where people can find me. And every Wednesday, Crazy Train with Jasmin St. Clair. Crazy with a K.
I gotcha. And I'll make sure all the links will be on my website so they can just hop on over to your stuff.
I'm excited, but thanks for having me on here, and I hope
appreciate it.
I've somehow enlightened your listeners with new travel stories and so forth. And airports, by the way, the best airports, like London's one of the best, Heathrow, because they have the caviar bar and the champagne. In Oslo, I don't like the Starbucks coffee shop because it's so American. It's like, get it out of here. But they have those,
when we were going to Japan, there's actually two major airports in Tokyo, and both of them have clubs that are. We were more excited about going. We were going to go early to the airport because the clubs were just like, oh my gosh, it's nothing like that here.
Isn't it sad?
Yeah.
Like Saga, in Iceland, they have a good program, the frequent flyer. But they have Yo Boy Sushi, which is revolving sushi in London, at Heathrow, and also around London, which is really good. I think there's one in Norway, but in Miami International Airport, I know I'm going off the rails on this one just because I'm talking about sushi. There's a great sushi place there. It's fresh. In
Miami Airport.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. I know you got to run, so thanks for your time. I'm looking forward. I'm going to try and get out the next PW match. That'd be pretty cool.
Message me and I'll put you on the list.
You got it. Thanks, Jasmin. Have fun.
Thank you. Fly safe.
Bye-bye.